y'all, it's Ilana and welcome back to my channel. This has been a very long-awaited video. I know everyone's excited to hear what my dating life has been like in Portland, so let's kick off the new year with what dating in Portland has taught me. If you are new to my channel, hi, welcome. So I am single, living in Portland, and this channel is all about navigating life and dating in Portland. So if you're thinking about moving to Portland, or maybe you're just single navigating the dating world, wherever the case may be, go ahead and subscribe down below because I think you'll really like it here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about what a full year of dating in Portland has taught me. So with this video, the way that I'm gonna break this up, and this is how I've done it for my 2 San Francisco dating videos, is that I will talk about some things that I've learned and experienced overall and what I've learned about dating in Portland, and then I will talk about my experiences and break down the stories and kind of tell you a little bit of what I learned from those experiences. With that being said, let's start off with the first thing that I've just overall learned while dating in Portland. One of the first things that I've noticed, and I think some people may disagree with me here, and that's okay because I'm just going based off my own personal experiences. Compared to when I was dating in San Francisco, and just so you know, I am straight and I do only date men, I have noticed that the men happen to be 1,000 times nicer than they were in the Bay Area. And I've just noticed overall from living in Portland that people here tend to be very nice in general, and that is something that I absolutely love. It is really refreshing to meet men who are really kind. They just have more laid-back personalities. There really isn't a lot of ego. They aren't married to their jobs like they were in San Francisco, and that is really freaking refreshing. I think one of the reasons as to why men don't have big egos here is because tech isn't very prevalent in Portland. Yes, there are tech companies here, like Nike and a bunch of the outdoor fitness companies are based here. Intel is based here with a few other places, but it's still not very big compared to the Bay Area. So the men aren't really just in it for the money. They're not in Portland because they want to make a quick buck and then leave. And that's really refreshing. I've also noticed that men here, well, not just men, people in general who live and work in Portland typically are freelancers, they are contractors, or they are in the service industry. A lot of guys that I've gone out with don't really have tech jobs, and it's definitely a different experience to go out with men who haven't had an office job, or they don't work remotely from home like I do. So that whole vibe and experience has been really different, and it's really refreshing to just go out with men who don't make 6-figure incomes. And I will be one of the many first women on the internet who will say I don't care about how much a man makes, as long as they're still ambitious and they love what they're doing and they're able to make enough money to financially support themselves and that they are living a happy, fulfilling life. That's really all I care about. I will never marry a man for his wallet because I have my own job that pays really well, and I don't need a man's wallet to make me happy in a relationship. But those are some things that I noticed when I started dating in Portland. I think dating profiles are even worse here than they were in the Bay Area. What I've noticed from men's dating profiles is that there is just a huge lack of effort. Yes, I still see a lot of the same repetitive BS that I see from when I was dating in San Francisco, but the men here really do not know how to take pictures. I see a lot of selfies where they're raising their chin like this. The pictures are just terrible quality, there's bad lighting, they're blurry, they just don't know how to take pictures of themselves. And I just feel they're really not marketing themselves very well, and I find that to be a little bit unattractive because your profiles don't give me anything to work from, and I don't know what you freaking look like because your profiles are garbage. I just see a lot of men on dating apps who seem like they lack ambition, or they're not looking for anything serious. I mean, I also saw that in San Francisco, but the men that I would date in San Francisco were ambitious, but they had bland personalities. I don't think the men here have bland personalities, but I do think that they're just kind of deadbeatish in a way. And I know that's really mean to say, but I'm not looking for a partner to take care of as like they were my child. Like, I'm not gonna be a motherly figure in my own relationship. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing from a lot of guys on these dating apps, is they have this deadbeat energy and it's not hot at all. And I just feel like a lot of the men here don't really take care of themselves. And to me, not taking care of yourself, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, I just don't really find that to be attractive. That has been really disappointing on the dating apps. The dating apps definitely have a completely different vibe than they did in the Bay Area. And so far, I'm not really liking that at all. This is one that some people might actually disagree with me, and again, I'm just solely speaking from experience, so feel free to disagree with me in the comments if you've experienced otherwise. So even though Portland has a very strong beer culture, like a really strong beer culture, I mean, you'll find pubs and bars, like any corner that you see when you just turn your head just walking around Portland. But compared to when I was living in San Francisco, drink dates don't seem to be as common for the first date. When I was living in San Francisco, literally the first date would be like, oh, you wanna grab drinks? You wanna grab drinks? You wanna grab drinks? Here it's more like, do you wanna get coffee or do you wanna get food? And that's really refreshing. Again, just my personal experience. Maybe everyone else is experiencing something differently where men are still asking to get beers or cocktails for the first date. I just haven't experienced that yet. And so for me, it's always been like, do you want to grab coffee? And I'm totally fine with grabbing coffee as a first date. I love coffee a ton. Some women hate that. I love it because, again, I love coffee, and coffee is a great way to bond and get to know somebody in a very less pressuring setting. I've also had first dates where we've grabbed lunch or dinner and maybe even some alcoholic beverages, but there was still food involved and you're still able to share a good conversation and a good time over a meal, and I can live with that. So for me, I'm totally fine with those first dates, and that's just something that I've noticed compared to when I was living in the Bay Area. One thing that I definitely don't like about dating in Portland that at least I've experienced so far is that I've had some serious personality clashes with some of the men that I've dated. And I will say that I'm a big extrovert. I do have a little bit of an introvert side to me, but I'm very sociable. I love to talk, I don't shut up. And I just have a lot of energy, and I really thrive off of people's energy. That makes me very happy. And I love to socialize. And a lot of the guys here seem to be painfully introverted. I feel like almost every single guy that I have gone out with so far has been very introverted. And let me tell you something, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being an introvert. I think extroverts and introverts make a great team because they balance each other out. But if you're gonna be so introverted to the point where you refuse to just socialize at all, you don't want to go out and explore the town and just you wait because I got a great story time. One thing if you have social anxiety, but if you're going to make it to the point where you being a painfully introverted person is your entire personality and you refuse to enjoy having fun with other people, it's just not gonna work for me. And I want those people to get better and find the help that they need so they can work on their social anxiety and be able to thrive better in social environments, because I have anxiety and I know what it's like, but I don't know what it's like to have social anxiety, because that's a type of anxiety that I don't have, and maybe I'm not really able to relate to some of those guys, and that sucks. But I've noticed personality clashes, and I just feel like my personality just isn't what the men that I've gone out with, it's what they're looking for. So that's kind of been a buzzkill when I've started dating here. A thing that I have liked, at least from men, is that a lot of the guys here are big cat lovers. Portland seems to be very into loving cats more than they like dogs. Now, I've gone out with guys who do have dogs, and I love dogs so much, absolutely love dogs. But a lot of the guys that I see on dating apps, there's always cats in their pictures. They're always talking about cats on dating apps. And when I was living in the Bay Area, it was all about the dogs. And I'm just like, where are the cat lovers in the Bay Area? Like, I don't understand. So that was a really refreshing thing, is that I feel like there are more cat lovers here than dog lovers. And I don't see as many dogs on the street compared to when I was living in the Bay Area. So that was a very interesting thing that I kind of noticed. I'll take a cat daddy any day. A thing that I don't like, and I only say don't like just because I'm not this kind of dater, but the polyamory game here is super duper strong. Now, obviously I have no issue with people who are polyamorous, none whatsoever. It's just not for me. I am a monogamous dater. I don't like sharing. I'm selfish. I will definitely get jealous. I definitely get discouraged when I've met men and I see on their profile that they're in open relationships or they're only into polyamory, and it's discouraging because I'm just like, where are the serious monogamous daters who want a serious relationship? That's been kind of hard to find. There was also a ton of that in the Bay Area, but I'm finding more of it here in Portland. And again, no shade to those who are polyamorous. Have no issue. If that is what works for you, please keep doing you. As long as it is healthy, everything is consented, and you are thriving, and it works for you, amazing. I'm happy for you. Keep doing that. And the last thing that I've learned from dating in Portland is that, at least from the men that I've dated, is that they are way too freaking passive. And I typically don't see a lot of effort being put into dates and communication. I've noticed that it's been more of me communicating, me planning all the dates, and I'm not seeing effort and I'm not getting anything returned when I am showing up and they're not. And obviously, like, those are not the right people for me. I need to be with somebody who is going to be a consistent communicator, who is going to show up, who is going to put in effort. And also, like, I need to put an effort as well. Like, I need to do some date planning and also making sure that I'm reaching out to my partner first. I'm not getting that balance, and that's something that's been super frustrating for me on my end so far, and I don't like it at all. I mean, I did experience a little bit of that in San Francisco, but I'm experiencing so much more passiveness here in Portland, and that's been very discouraging. Because if people are gonna be passive to me, I'm gonna feel like you don't really care about me and you're not interested in me, and I don't have time for people who are not gonna put in effort and who are not gonna communicate with me. That's a huge turnoff, and I deserve better than that. Those are the 7 things that I've learned overall within my first year of dating in Portland. So let's talk about some of the stories that I have encountered while dating. So maybe 3 weeks after I got settled into Portland, I finally went on my first date. And I matched with a guy on Hinge, and we actually lived right near each other. So we were in the same neighborhood, so that was pretty convenient. And we decided to go to a food truck park in our neighborhood. I think food truck parks make great dates, and there's like heated seating and whatnot in this food truck park, so it was gonna be perfect. When I first met him, I didn't think he looked anything like his pictures, and so that was a bit of a letdown, but it's like, you know what? Still have a good attitude, still, you know, make the most of it. You two are already here, and just see what happens from your conversation, and maybe you guys will hit it off. So, I mean, we're talking, we're eating our food, and we were able to hold a conversation. Like, he wasn't a bad conversationalist whatsoever, but I just could not see myself hooking up with this guy. I could not see myself pursuing anything further. I think he just felt more like a friend to me. Some people will say, oh, we'll give it a second chance. And I'm like, no. If I'm already getting these vibes from somebody where I can't see myself hooking up with you and I'm just really not feeling it like I want to, and the fact that you didn't even really look like your pictures, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. I did let him come back to my place just for a little bit, just because it was really, really cold that night, and I was only like a 7-minute walk away, so I was happy to like just continue talking with him just for a little bit and just to get out of the cold. And I know he told me he really likes cats, and I said, you know what, you can meet my cat if you want. So I let him meet my cat. We talked for maybe about another hour and then we said goodnight. And then I didn't really hear from him for the next few days. And once he had texted me, he asked me how I was doing and I said, hey, thanks for reaching out. I want to let you know that I really didn't feel like much of a connection when we first met, and I gently told him how I wasn't interested, and he said, no worries, no big deal, I appreciate you letting me know. He was very kind and polite about it, and that was that. And then we have guy number 2, who I literally had a date with the night after I met guy number 1. This is the story. We met on Hinge as well, and we were texting a little bit throughout the week, and then finally we agreed, like, okay, we need to meet each other. So we had a date on a Saturday at a really great vegan spot, and we ordered some beers and some really good food, and we were having a really great time. Like, we were laughing, we were chatting. I felt like we were able to relate to one another in a lot of different ways. And he has a car, and he said he was willing to take me back to my place so I didn't have to take an Uber. And I thought that was really nice, so I let him take me back home. I trusted him. I didn't think he was like a serial killer or anything, so I let him take me back home. And so when we were about to say goodnight, I knew that like I wanted to kiss him. I really enjoyed my time with him, and so as I'm like leaning in to hug, I also like was trying to make my way to his mouth to kiss him. And before I do that, he asked like, can I kiss you? And I said yes. And so we made out in his car for a little bit. And I didn't want to say goodbye to him, so I let him come inside, and well, we had sex on the first date. After a really great first date, we were texting each other all throughout the week. We agreed we wanted to see each other again, and I got to meet his roommates in the middle of a week for our second time being together. We played Cards Against Humanity. I got to meet his dog. His dog is really cute, and it was just a really nice night. And then he drove me back home the next morning because I needed to work, and I believe he did as well. And then we made plans again later that weekend to continue hanging out. I knew at this point I wasn't looking for anything serious just because I didn't know how long I was going to be in Portland for. When I first moved to Portland, I thought I was gonna be here for only 4 months and then I was gonna go back to San Francisco, and that's not the case anymore. So I was perfectly fine not being in something serious at that time. I want to say after maybe like our 4th or 5th date, this is where he had quit his retail job and he got a much better opportunity doing something else, and I wanted to celebrate with him. So I took him to Portland City Grill, which is this really beautiful penthouse bar with a gorgeous view. It's like one of my favorite places in Portland, and we went there for drinks and dessert, and it was just a very, very romantic evening. We got to talk, and it was just very nice, and I got to treat him, and he really appreciated it. And so we spent the night together, and I thought everything was perfectly fine. And then after that happened, the communication was starting to dwindle down a bit, and he wasn't texting me as much anymore. I felt like the excitement was starting to burn off from him, and I was starting to get a little bit anxious. Within the next 2 weeks after this date, I started getting very, very anxious. And that's not a good sign because the person that you're seeing should not make you feel anxious at all. And I felt like his anxiety was getting projected onto me, and then with my anxiety and his anxiety, that's not a good combo, right? So after like my anxiety started to get really bad, I called him because I wanted to let him know, like, you know, hey, I have a lot of anxiety and sometimes I need a little bit of affirmation and validation and reassurance to make sure that everything is okay. So we talked on the phone for maybe like 20 minutes, and he told me, I do feel like we are two completely different people and we have different lifestyles, but I also want to let you know that I really do like you, and I really am sorry that I haven't been fully present lately. I definitely want to still see you, and I just have depression. I'm going through it right now, and I do appreciate you being so patient with me. Because when I was calling him, part of me wanted to end it because he was making me anxious. And when he said like, well, I feel like we're two different people with two different lifestyles, and I asked him, like, two different lifestyles, like, what do you mean? And he said, well, I mean, I have this retail job, you work from home, and you like to go to the gym, and you care about eating well, and when I was over one day and you asked me to measure your oatmeal and this, it just all sounded so miserable, and I said, does it make you feel some kind of way that I work out and that I try to eat well? Really? And he goes, no, but it's just not the lifestyle that I live. I'm like, okay, well, that's not a big deal. I thought it was really dumb that he was comparing himself to me, and he was clearly projecting some sort of insecurity, and I really should have ended it. For me, I decided, you know what? Let's just see what happens. Let's give it one more chance. I didn't get to see him for an entire week, and so I said, hey, like, it's been a week of seeing you. Like, do you want to hang out? And he said, yeah, what do you want to do? And so I said, well, why don't we go ahead and like get some dinner? We can maybe spend the night, and maybe we can get brunch the next morning. I just haven't gotten a chance to see you, and I wanted to spend time with him. So during this last weekend that we were together, I just noticed that he just was not how he used to be. He wasn't very like excited. I felt like he seemed really exhausted to want to be around me, and he just wasn't into it, and I was starting to get very concerned. And so we did get brunch, and he was very quiet during brunch, and I was just getting concerned. I was starting to become unhappy. And so a few days later, I texted him, and he completely ghosted me, and I followed up with him the next day, just been like, hey, I wanted to follow up on my text because I had asked him a question, and he didn't answer my question. I wanted to ask him, like, would you want to go to the park? He sends me this really rude rejection text message. Was it honest? Yes, but like none of this was necessary to say to me. So let me get my phone out really quick. And I have read this conversation on a live stream before, but if you missed that, let me go ahead and tell you about it. Hey, so to be perfectly honest, the last couple of times we've hung out, I haven't really enjoyed myself, like, at all. Like I said on the phone, I feel like we're really different people with really different interests. I think you're a great person, and I'm really happy that you seem to be on the way to some financial stability, but I feel like we are fundamentally different people and we live different lifestyles. I feel like when I'm hanging out with you, I'm trying to be someone I'm not, and I don't like that. I'm too old to be spending what little free time I have pretending to be someone else. First of all, you were literally 1 year older than me, and you don't even fucking do anything with your life. But like, okay buddy, keep popping off. I'm not extroverted. I'm not the type of person that goes out to brunch or explores the city. I can't be your tour guide, and I just don't think we fit. I wish you the best, but I kind of think I need to do my own thing for a while. So I said, look, it's totally okay. Thank you for your honesty. I had a feeling you were feeling that way too, but I wasn't sure until we got a chance to talk about it. I really wanted to talk about this in person because we were seeing each other for a month, but like, whatever. I was also starting to become unhappy, especially after last weekend, but wanted to see if there was any hope left. I'm really sorry to hear you had to pretend to be someone you're not. I'm not sure what that means, but it's sad to hear you couldn't be yourself around me. I didn't want you to be my tour guide. I just like having fun with people that I'm with. That being said, I totally understand you. I also think you're a great person, and I wish you nothing but the best as well. I truly hope you find your happiness in what you're looking for. And then he didn't reply back after that. That is how you do not send a breakup text or a rejection text. All he had to say was like, hey, it's been really nice getting to know you, but I really don't think we're a match, and I do feel like we're two different people. I think you're a great person, and I truly wish you nothing but the best. That was all you had to say. But you went off on some complete unnecessary tangent, and what he said was kind of hurtful. Like, I felt like I was being shamed for being an extrovert. I also felt like I was being shamed for wanting to do fun things around the city, and him thinking that like he was going to be my tour guide when that clearly wasn't the case. And I also felt like I was being shamed for having the bikini competitor lifestyle that I had. I'm glad that it didn't work out, because that is certainly not a man that I want to be with. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from this is if you have a gut feeling and a guy is making you anxious, that's not your person. I have never dated somebody who has made me that anxious in my life, and I kind of felt a little bit manipulated to stay with him when he's like, no, but I still really like you and I still want to see you, and I really just wish I had ended it there. And I'm not gonna say that I'm the victim here, but like, that is something that I kind of regret doing, and I am going to listen to my gut better. If someone is starting to make me feel anxious, that's probably a good sign that it's probably not my person. So let's go on to the next guy. And trust me, the rest of these don't have really big stories like this one. A few months later, I didn't really date anyone, and then I matched with another guy, but it was on Bumble this time. The guy was really nice, and he definitely liked to communicate, and he definitely had more of a livelier personality compared to the last person I saw, and we wanted to meet up and get coffee. He said he was in the area. I know we had plans to do a hike date, but he wanted to know, would you want to maybe introduce ourselves to each other now? And I said, sure. So we got coffee near a place where I live, and we walked around, and it was really nice, and we had a great conversation. So we still had plans to do the hike date, and so for our second date, we drove out to Washington to like the Mount St. Helens area, and we went on like a trail ground where it had people, it was popular, and I know some people have their opinions about hike dates because they're afraid they're gonna get killed, and I totally get that, but I think the biggest thing when it comes to hike dates is that you do it in a very popular area and there's no isolation around, so that way hopefully you don't have to worry about getting killed. But I knew like I wasn't with a serial killer, and again, like I was being safe and precautious, and so we went on a date, we walked around, it wasn't too hard, it was a really easy trail, nothing too challenging, and that's how hike dates should be, they shouldn't be hard. And then we went and saw this really nice lake, we walked around, and then we drove back into Portland. And it was a nice time, but I definitely knew there really wasn't a romantic connection between the two of us. And I think he knew that, I knew that, I got more friendship vibes. I honestly never heard from him ever again. I think we both kind of knew that we weren't a fit. And I didn't like that we did a mutual laptop because I'm kind of against that. I'm really against that actually. But I just kind of knew that nothing was gonna happen, so if you just know that something isn't gonna happen out of it, maybe there is that one exception where you can mutually opt out. I also do wish that I could have gone back and texted him saying like, hey, I didn't feel like this was a match, but it was still really nice meeting you and I did enjoy a hike with you. I really do wish I had said that at the time, but I also didn't think he was that interested too. So that was another reason as to why I didn't text him. So then maybe a few weeks later, I matched with somebody else on Hinge. The guy seemed really cute in his pictures, and then when I met him in person, holy shit, he looked exactly like my ex-boyfriend. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was kind of freaked out. Literally did not know what to do because he did not look like my ex in his pictures. It tripped me out a bit. And so we went on a bowling date and it was really fun. He definitely beat me because I'll be honest, I'm not the best bowler. I mean, we still had a good time. We got some drinks, we got some food, we had some nice laughs about how bad my bowling skills were. I was enjoying myself. And so we went back to my place and we did make out a little bit. I knew I wanted to see him again. It was a nice time. And so the second date, it was when Portland had that really big heat wave. He came over and we had some like wine and we went in our hot tub and we just had a nice relaxing day, and we did hook up for the first time and it was not a great experience. I don't see us hooking up ever again. And so there was a week where my friend Brian, one of my best San Francisco friends, came to visit me, and so I knew that there wasn't going to be any time to see him, and I just wanted to, you know, enjoy time with my friend who was coming to visit me, who I hadn't seen in like 6 months. And I told the guy, let's have a date on this day. We made those plans. We communicated a little bit, but like he gave me my space and I appreciated that. So once Brian leaves, I have my date with him the next day and we go to the park and we had a nice little picnic. It was a very nice date, but I just felt like we really weren't clicking anymore in terms of this conversation. And one thing that really bothered me is when we were talking about how we process griefs and breakups and stuff, he mentioned that he was still grieving his relationship. When I had asked him, what are you looking for? He said he was looking for a relationship and he had been single for a little over a year now, and he said he had dated his last partner for a little over 2 years and he was still processing his breakup and grieving, and that stung because that made me believe that he was still not over his ex and he was not emotionally available. That was a big red flag, and I just knew that like I could not proceed any further with this guy. So I texted him the next day basically saying that, hey, I just get the feeling that you're really not into this. like I would have hoped for. And to be fair, like I really need to be with somebody who is into me. And it did sting when you told me that you were still processing the breakup of your ex. I still think you're a really great person, but I wish you all the best. And he texted me saying, thank you so much for texting me. I'm really glad you reached out. I also agree with you, and you're right. You deserve to be with somebody who is going to be more present in a relationship. And I'm really sorry that I told you that on our date. I also wish you the best. So it was very healthy, no harm, no foul. And that was the end of that. So we went on 3 dates. I think it lasted for like a total of like 2 weeks. And that was a really shitty way to end something. If someone tells you on a date that they're still processing their breakup, it's a sure sign that they're not over their ex and you do not need to proceed any further. You're just asking for a heartache, and yeah, that's messy. So I'm glad I ended that without feeling really shitty about myself. Okay, I got 2 more guys left. Just bear with me. So, second to last guy. I met him off Hinge back in September, and we agreed to get coffee, and we were maybe together for around 2.5 hours or so. And then after we had coffee, we realized we were still hungry, and so there was a little pub bar down the road that we walked to, and we got some lunch. And like, it was good conversation. You know, he was really sweet, very communicative, really liked putting in effort, and he was very mature. I was still unsure about him, but like in a good way, not a bad way, and I was willing to go on a second date with him just to see if anything else could happen. So we're texting throughout the week. You know, he's a really great communicator. I loved that, and I really liked that he put in effort. He was really showing up, and that's exactly like what I want from a partner. So that was very refreshing, and I appreciated the check-ins and wanting to talk throughout the day. It was nice. We had plans for our second date to go to, I believe, some vegan restaurant, and then maybe go to an arcade afterwards. I believe that's what the date idea was, and that sounded very lovely. And so I think maybe it was like Tuesday, he texted me, well, I want to be honest, I kind of want to see you again before our Friday date. Would that be okay with you? And I said, sure. And the reason I said sure is because this would kind of let me know if I would be wasting my time going on what would now be a third date with him. So I decided to go on this date to see if I still wanted to keep seeing him, right? We go to Cathedral Park, and he put in a lot of effort. He brought a bunch of things for our little picnic. I brought some stuff as well, and it was really nice. And so we're having like a good conversation, but part of me was starting to not really get into it, and the guy hadn't done anything wrong, you know? He was really nice. I really did appreciate him communicating well. I love that he was putting in effort, but just something was just still missing from this guy. And so obviously, like, I wasn't rude to him on our date, and I was already starting to get the impression that like I knew that I absolutely did not want to do the dinner and the arcade date anymore. But I still wasn't going to be rude, and I still stuck the date out. And so on our date, he's asked me, can I ask you a question? And I said, what's up? And he said, can I kiss you? And I said, no, but I said it a little bit more gently. So I just said, hey, I'm not ready to kiss you yet. I'm still just trying to get to know you. I hope that's okay. And he goes, oh yeah, no, I totally respect that. And I think I really tripped him up when I said that, because I was gonna try to take an Uber back, and Ubers kept canceling on me, and so he wanted to wait with me, and he goes, I really hope I didn't like mess things up when I asked you that. And I said, no, not at all. I just like to take things slow. That was a lie. If I was into him, I would have totally kissed him, but I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't want to kiss him. And so he said, well, I'm sorry these Ubers are canceling on you, but like, would it be okay if I gave you a ride back? And I said, sure. I said, thank you for the ride. I will talk to you tomorrow. So he sends me a good morning text the next day, and I said good morning, and then I also gently let him down, and I didn't think it would make sense to do our Friday night date. And he said, that's totally okay. Thank you for letting me know. I had a feeling and I wanted to ask about it, but I appreciate you letting me know. And that was the end of that, right? So let's go on to the last guy. Matched with this last guy on Hinge, and his profile had some really interesting things on it, and we started matching on the app, and we agreed to go to Harlow, which is this really awesome vegan spot in Hawthorne, and I really like that place, and so I was totally excited to do a lunch date with him. And so we're chatting on the app a little bit, and he did let me know that he had a lumberjack beard and he was trying to grow it out because he does a lot of stuff on TikTok, and he showed me his TikTok account and I was really impressed. Got a lot of followers, a lot of cool videos out there. And I was just looking at his videos and I'm like, oh my god, he really does not look anything like his pictures, even though he did give me the warning and I already knew I was probably not going to be into this man, but I'm still gonna go on the date and I don't have to go on another date after that. We go to Harlow and to be honest, I'm just not really having the best time. I ordered a new meal that I thought was going to be good and it turned out that it was actually terrible and had a lot of cauliflower in it. And I felt really bad and he felt bad and he goes, well, let me order you something else. And I was just like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, you already spent money on me. And he goes, no, I want to make sure you're enjoying yourself. And I said, okay, well, thank you. Oh, I felt horrible for doing this and for like being that person who just like hated their meal and making him reorder. Oh, I felt really gross about it. So I ordered something new and it definitely tasted a lot better. I mean, we had a good conversation, but I just felt like I had nothing in common with this guy and there was just no romantic attraction there and I just wasn't physically attracted to him. And I also found out like he seemed to be recently single. I didn't want to date somebody who had just broken up with their partner. So I also didn't even ask him what he was looking for. I actually forgot to do that. So guys, make sure that you don't forget to ask people's intentions before you go on a date with them. Or at least tell that person what you're looking for so they know to not lead you on. I never gave him my number, so I texted him through the app saying like it was nice to meet you, but I just really didn't feel a connection. And he took it totally fine. That's basically been my experiences with dating in Portland so far. Who knows what 2022 has to bring for me, and I definitely can't wait to give you an update about just like how living in Portland overall has been for me so far. But I really hope you enjoyed this video and you learned some new things from it. And if you did like this video, make sure you do give it a thumbs up and I will see you in my next one. Bye!